Since our preview components are rendered in isolation, there's no need for Vue Router. However, there are two features of Vue Router that are hard-coded into some of our components. Firstly, the router object, and secondly, the router link component. An example of this is here in the item form component. So you'll recall from the last module that this component renders a form, and it can be either used to create a new item or edit an existing item. The mechanism for determining that is a check of the route object for the item ID parameter. If it's found, the ID is used to load an item model from the server, and if it's not, a new item is created. Now, if we try to preview this component, it's going to error out due to the Vue Router dependency not being met. So let's fix it. So we'll begin by documenting this component. So we'll add a doc block to the top. And on the first line, we'll put a general description, which will be form for creating or updating items. And we'll also put a version. Now this component doesn't have any props to document, so let's just go straight to the bottom and add the docs tag for the usage example. So we'll put usage example, and then we'll add a JavaScript doc block, and then we can declare the item form like so. Once the code builds, we can see the item form has not rendered, and if we inspect the browser console, you'll see we get the type error here, cannot read params of undefined, just as predicted. We're not going to add Vue Router to the wrapper instance the way we did with Vuetify and Vuex, since we don't really want its functionality. Instead, we're going to mock Vue Router. So to do this, we're going to add a route property to the Vue prototype. So let's put Vue prototype and the route property, and we'll then assign an object to this with the property params, and we'll assign an object to that. Finally, we'll add an ID property and we'll set it to null. With this in place, the router object will no longer be undefined when our item form and other components search for it. With that in place, you can see our item form component is now rendering correctly. The other aspect of Vue Router we're going to mock is the router link component. This is present in the page footer component, which includes internal navigation links. Now, the missing route link component doesn't actually cause an error, it just causes some warnings in the console, which you can see here. Also, if we inspect these navigation links, you'll see that they haven't rendered as anchor links in the DOM tree like they should, since Vue currently doesn't know what to do with them. Let's now create a new file for the mocked router link component definition by going to the terminal and typing touch docs style guide router link JS. Since mocking the router link component is a common pattern when using Vue Style Guidist, the maintainers provide code for doing this in their documentation. So let's go ahead to the example snippet here, and we're just going to copy out the component definition here. Coming over to the new router link file we created, let's put export default, and then we're going to paste the component definition into this file. Back in the wrapper file, let's import the router link module at the top by going import router link from router link like that. Now we can register it as a global component by going Vue component router link and then providing that component definition there. Once the docs rebuild, we won't actually see anything particularly different for the page footer, but if we look in the console, you'll see that all those warnings have gone away, and these links, if we now inspect these, you'll see that they're actually rendering as anchor tags in the DOM as they should.